So Paul found me on LinkedIn because I'd done a podcast, and then the guy who'd the clip he decided to use from the podcast was I'm swearing in it, and he'd bleep me out, but Paul thought that was my best quality, and hopefully it's not, because and I'll try not to swear too much today because there's a little boy in the room. Oh my word! So I'll give you a little bit about me, my journey so far, and the company that I own. So I've been running Colour, I founded Colour and launched it back in 2016. And my story is that I suffer with this very common foot condition called bunions. If you don't know what bunions are, just go on Instagram and put in Colour Shoes UK, and you'll see my feet. And basically, bunions change the shape of your feet. And they change the shape of your feet so much that it's really, really hard to find shoes to fit. Well, actually, it's not that hard to find shoes to fit, but it's hard to find shoes to fit that look nice. So, my style is my style, and I do not want to be wearing granny shoes with Velcro. So I had this kind of light bulb moment when I was getting married, like 15 years ago. And I couldn't find any shoes to fit that would go with my wedding dress. So I decided there and then, one day I'm going to start a business. And I didn't. I got married, had a baby, had another baby. And I was pregnant with my second daughter, and I was in a redundancy situation. And at that point, I was head of marketing at Salford University. And I just thought, I don't want to go back into the corporate world. I've got 2 children under 2. What should I do? Right, I'll start a business. I wouldn't recommend it. It's a bit of for a lot of you in here, it's hard work, especially with 2 children under 2. So that's the story. So Colour Shoes are basically fashionable premium footwear made in Portugal, sold from the UK, for women who have problems with their feet, like bunions or wide feet, or you just like comfortable shoes. So most of you are kind of men left in here, but go home and tell your wives. So we are... Which button do I press? That one will do. So we're still quite a small team. We outsource the fulfillment to a 3PL. There's 7 people in the team, and 2 of them are part-time, including me. We're direct to consumer only. We have 2 Shopify stores, one for the UK and the rest. No, one for USA, which is colorshoes.com, and colorshoes.co.uk is UK and rest of the world. We have, I don't know what's on the next slide, actually. Yeah, okay. So these are some of the things that we've achieved. These are some of the things that I'm going to be talking about today, which is around our success getting PR without using a PR agency, and how to grow your social media following to increase revenue. And like I say, we're a very small team. And we do all of our marketing pretty much in-house. So this is stuff that we've done in-house and stuff that you guys can do too. So we've been featured in Footwear News recently. We've won Best Footwear Award recently in Oprah Daily. We've been featured in loads of publications like Cosmopolitan, InStyle. The fashion editor of The Telegraph wore our shoes in an article and recommended us. We've been in Hello Magazine, OK Magazine, like loads and loads of publicity. And we have only had a PR agency for 12 months within all of that publicity. So most of the publicity has been generated by me. We also have over 200,000 followers on Instagram, and bearing in mind that we're not a massive business, but last year we turned over about 1.2 million, but because of some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about with you today, we're already at 74% growth on last year. So we're growing pretty fast now, and a lot of that is down to this kind of brand building that we've been doing on PR and socials. Because we're D2C, the world is our oyster, and we have customers in over 90 countries around the world, but most of our business is UK, USA. And when I stood up before and said how much I hate it globally, it's because we've grown very, very organically in the US. We spend very little money on advertising there. We probably only get about 20 orders from our advertising there. Most of it is organic. And we have fantastic repeat purchase rates. So the guy before, he was saying, you've got to track your new customers versus your returning. Yes, you do. And obviously, we're always focusing on putting new people in the top of the funnel. But we also want, women love shoes. Like, why would they only buy one pair? We're encouraging them to buy 2 pairs and 3 pairs. And our best customer has spent over £5,500 with us. I mean, she loves shoes. I'm going to talk a little bit today how we got our shoes on Dame Helen Mirren, who you can see here. And she is a customer. This is not a gift. She came on our website, she bought our shoes and wore them to Wimbledon last year. And I don't know if you watch Golden Globes or you follow comedians, but Nikki Glaser, she's right up my street, actually. She's a very rude comedian. But we reached out to her on, did she reach out to us on Instagram? And she said, I've got bunions, but I'm vegan. Do you do any vegan shoes? At that time, we didn't. And then a few years later, we did. We contacted her and she wore them. She bought them. It was really interesting to listen to the last guy talking, because 2 years ago, I almost lost the business. And a lot of it was, I blame Globally, but it's not Globally's fault. It's my fault, really. Because it was after COVID, we doubled in turnover in 1 year. A lot of that was from the USA. We thought, let's use I had some bad advice from an advisor who'd said, use Globally, that's what you need to scale abroad. But we didn't need it because we were already scaling without Globally, and we were just paying Globally money that we didn't need to pay them. Kind of lost control of the margins, and when I figured out that we were losing quite a lot of money on every single sale, and we were growing in the USA, but we were losing money on every single sale, I was like, oh shit, we need to do something about this, and I almost lost the business. I made a massive loss that year. I had to go to an investor and beg them to kind of help me save the business, which they did. And then I've managed to turn it around, and we are like crazy profitable now, like more profitable than I thought that we would ever be. And I put 48% growth there, but I did this last week, and we've kind of growing again. Like, we're growing so fast, which is very exciting. So this is kind of some of the stuff, the coverage that we're getting. We've been Indie Best Independent shoe several times. You can pay to be in the Indie Best, but we don't. Like, if you want to pay and use an affiliate scheme, you can easily get into these. But this is organic. The Footwear News one I'm very proud of, because this is a big USA publication, and they generally don't feature small brands like mine. They're very much Nike, the big fashion brands. But I got chatting to the journalist, which, if I'll go back, the journalist found me from a guy who I'd contacted on Instagram. This is kind of like the power of social media. So I contacted this podiatrist or foot surgeon on Instagram, 2017. He had a very small following at that time. We used to call him, me and my intern at the time, we called him the hot doctor, because he was very fit. And his Instagram profile was, he was kind of like half naked a lot of the time, and jumping off yachts into the sea. But he had a lot of followers, so he took our shoes. And ever since then, he's just become more and more popular. He was raising his own profile at that time, and he was on the USA Gladiators, and then he was on one of them TLC programs called My Feet Are Killing Me. And what I didn't realise that whole time, that relationship that I'd built with him all those years ago, he was constantly recommending us. And Footwear News reached out to me and said, this Dr. Bradley has told us that you're the company he recommends all the time. Got talking to her. She loved the story. She said, right, I'm going to do a feature. So that kind of thing is amazing, because I want to try and get into Nordstrom's and those types of places in the USA, and this is the kind of publication to be in. So loads of PR. I'm going to tell you a bit about that one. That article came from an Instagram, but I'll tell you how I did the other stuff in a bit. And then, Instagram. So this screenshot I took last week. So we had 52.5 million views on our Instagram profile in the last 30 days. And we have grown our following from 15,000 followers last July to which is now 208,000 followers, actually, because this is out of date, because I did this last week. And we're growing like crazy fast now. And I'm going to tell you how we did that too, if you're interested. I will tell you about that in a bit. Okay, so PR tips. How do we get all that PR? So we did use a PR agency last year for, I think it's about 11 months in total. And the reason even though we'd had quite a lot of PR before, the reason I did that is because I had a really specific objective, and it was because of our brand positioning. I was getting nervous that maybe we were becoming a brand of... I didn't want to be put in the bracket of like hotter shoes or like some of those German kind of ugly, comfort footwear brands. And I needed to be in some of those very kind of fashion-led magazines, So the editor of The Telegraph, when she took our shoes and promoted them, that was through the PR agency. It's a very specific PR agency for fashion in Soho in London, and they get all the stylists coming in, and all this fashion type of media coming into their office. We had they have little stands of all the brands that they represent. And I got on really well with the PR agency manager. So we paid about we did pay £2,500 a month for that service. But they got us into Telegraph, they got us into the Times, got us into Grazia. We just got some really good high-profile names under our belt. Let me just say that they don't necessarily translate into sales. You're not necessarily going to get into them and see a huge spike. You tend to get the spikes more from if you get featured and you get picked up organically. So if you're going to use an agency, you really have to keep on top of them about what your specific objectives are, and they are for brand building and not necessarily for sales. So you might get some sales. If you look out and you sat on the couch on This Morning, and you get to talk about your product directly, great. But a lot of the time it's just about brand building. And I dropped them, not because they weren't great, but just because I wanted to put that money in something else. And we've still been able to get great PR without them. We've just learned a lot from that. And then the other part of it is reactive PR. So this is like proper tip number one. So there are places on the internet where journalists will post articles that they need people for. They need commentary, they need product, they need stories. And because journalists are very busy, because they're having to put out like article after article constantly, all the time, they need content, and they haven't got time to go out and do their own research, right? So what they do is they'll post on websites like Quoted. Quoted is a great one if you've not heard of it. The reason I like Quoted is because there's a lot of US publications on there, and that's kind of where I'm trying to grow the business. And it'll be, it'll say, tell me footwear brands for walking a long distance or something. It'll be something quite specific. And then I'll reply, this is, with a pitch. We've got that. And then the journalist will or won't get back to you. So, you're not going to win every one. But my top tip is, as soon as that comes out, you have to be like the first one going back to them. You can't be dithering and going, what I'll do is I'll stop now and I'll reply to that tomorrow. It's too late, because those, your competitors will already have answered and they've got what they need done. So I generally will drop everything if there's an opportunity that I really, really want to go after. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm in the middle of a meeting, I'll be like, I've just got to reply to this, and I'll go off and do it, because, like I say, it's always first. So don't be thinking that it needs to be a perfect pitch. Journalists do not want to read like miles and miles of text, of this is how we started, this is what we're doing. They don't. What I tend to do is in the subject line in the email, if they say we're looking for the best walking shoes to walk miles in or whatever, in the subject line, I'll put, I own a brand that my customers have said they've done 20,000 steps a day in. So, you kind of reply with what they're looking for in the subject line. Because then when they're sifting through all their emails, you jump out. And this has worked time and time again. So whatever they're looking for, make sure you answer it in the subject line, and then also introduce it in the first line of your email. So just say straight away, this is how I am answering your question. Give a little bit of background, and then, if appropriate, you should always have really good photographs as well, because that's what they're going to ask for. So this is something that I've tested, and basically, the better the photograph, if it's a profile of me, and they want to profile me as part of the story, I always make sure that whatever I send them, I'm looking like pretty hot in, like pretty good, like because they like the photographs where someone's looking decent. So what they don't want is a selfie of you in the dark, with your hair a mess and a sweaty old top on or something. They want photographs that they can put in publications that people will want to read. So think about it from your point of view. What would attract you to reading a story in a newspaper? It's, great photography. So if it's of you, make sure you get really good professional photographs of yourself taken that you can just send over at a whim. Also, product photography is a given. So, have really, really great product photography. What they want are photographs on white backgrounds so they can cut them out and pop them in their magazines and newspapers. But they'll ask you for that. So you just say in the email, I've got all of this photography if you need it. And then the other thing is kind of on the extended PR side, but a lot of publications these days, they want to know that they can earn money from whatever link that they put in their online article. So I would set up with an affiliate scheme like AWIN. I think someone else mentioned that. I can't remember who it was. But AWIN are an affiliate network, and then they can link with you on there. Most product-based things that you read in the newspapers now, that newspaper's getting money from it. Like they get a kickback from if someone clicks that link and they buy. And that's just, the way that the world is working now because they're not getting as much money for advertising, so they need to make their money somehow. So you need to be on those. And we've managed to get into articles like Cosmo and InStyle just because of the fact that we're, and in the Independent because we have that affiliate program. Lightbulb is another one. So if you go into Facebook, it's called Lightbulb PR for journalists and entrepreneurs or something like that. It's called something like that. Find them. It's £5 a month. Like quoted is free. I use the free version. The Facebook one, I think it's £5 or £6 a month. You can only go in there if you are the founder, the entrepreneur, or if you're a journalist. And the woman who runs it, she will look you up. So if you're not one of those two people, don't try and enter that group because she'll kick you out. But again, it's the same kind of thing. Basically, journalists are going in and asking for very specific stories. And that's where I've got some of the better features. You want that double page spread in Woman and Home. I mean, you might not do, but that's what I was going for. When I got a great article in the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail, even though I kind of hate it, it is amazing for sales. That's the only publication I've got in where I sold out of stock in one day. It is insane. I didn't know what was going on when it went in because I was so early on in my journey. I think it was 6 months into the business, and we got, I think it was 12,000 visitors in an hour. It was crazy, and they bought everything I had, which is a shame. But great at the same time. I'd love to have done it now. I wish I hadn't done it so early, but the Daily Mail is amazing. And then the other one, if you're on X or Twitter, is #JournoRequest. I used to use that, but I don't like Twitter either, so I use the other two. And then the extended PR. So a lot of PR agencies are doing this kind of stuff now because they realise it's not like people just don't buy magazines anymore. And also it's quite easy for you to get your own PR doing, using these tools I've already told you about. But the other stuff is around your social media, because that's your PR. That's people sharing and telling other people about your product. It's basically PR. We do a bit of influencer gifting, but we're very particular about who we gift. And we do a little bit of paid influencer stuff, collaboration stuff. But I'm tight, with money. So a lot of these people are proper greedy gets, and they're like, yeah, we'll do you a story for 25 grand. And we're like, no, do one. We're not doing that. You'd really have to understand your ROI for what some of these people, these ridiculous charges. Whereas actually you can find some influencers. So let's say it's model trains or whatever, toy trains. You'll find some influencer who loves toy trains, has a great following. That's the guy you want. And, might be worth 20 grand then, but generally those types of people, they won't charge you that much money. We've never paid more than £2,000 for an influencer, and that was a lady from Strictly Come Dancing. One of the dancers on Strictly Come Dancing, Amy Dowden. I don't watch Strictly, so I don't know. But that was quite a good collaboration. and what have I written there? Gitting. It's not gitting, it's gifting. Celebrity gifting. So we do a bit of that. Like I say, Helen Mirren wasn't one of them, but we have done celebrity gifting for the people. And then sometimes people now approach us and say, can I have your shoes because I'm going to go to the BAFTAs or whatever. So I think this week we sent some shoes to, what's she called from Gavin and Stacey, Ruth, that woman from Gavin and Stacey, Ruth. That's it, yeah. Her stylist contacted us and said, can we have some shoes for Ruth to wear to the BAFTAs? So we will do that, we're fine doing that, but don't do too much of it. And some people are a bit cheeky, and so we just say no. Like, you've got to, we're not got loads and loads of money, so and we are quite particular about who we want to partner with. So social media stuff. So how did we go from 15,000 to 208,000 followers on Instagram? So social media has always been big for me because I've never really spent that much money on marketing, like very small amounts. So I'll give you an example. Last month, we spent £20,000 on advertising, and our revenue was like £200,000, and our profit was like nearly £100,000. So like, we've spent very little on like marketing in general. A lot of stuff is just is done in-house within the small team, and and really what can we do in-house rather than paying agencies loads of money. Nothing against agencies, but if you can do it yourself, do it yourself. So on Instagram, so we were very lucky, and actually the story is that Nina, who's in the room today, has been sat next to me, my new marketing officer. She came in as an intern last July, and when she was doing the interview process with me and the marketing manager, she'd done a SWOT analysis on our business, and I was like, oh, this is nice. And she was like, your main competitor has 32,000 followers and you've only got 15,000. I think that's a weakness and you need to kind of do something about it. So after the interview, we were like, well, she's hired. And then also we were a bit like, we do need to do something about that. We've done quite well on TikTok. I mean, at the moment, we've got 90,000 followers on TikTok, 39,000 followers on Facebook, 8,000 subscribers on YouTube, all very target market stuff. But Instagram, we were kind of lagging a bit. So we just doubled down on our efforts. And sometimes when you do that and you decide you're going to do something, I call it magic, because that's the only thing that can describe what happened in the weeks following Nina telling us that we needed to sort ourselves out. And we went viral twice, like in 1 week. I mean, and not just like a little bit viral. This is like 2 posts at 15 million and 12 million on Instagram, and it just went crazy, particularly in America. And what we're doing now is it's this consistent content. So it's every single day post, every single day stories, and every single week me doing lives. So a lot of the content is around me just jumping on and talking to the customers or the followers about anything. So a bit like going back to that YouTube thing at the beginning. It's just having that personal connection with people and really, really leaning into that. Because in this world today where brands just, big brands particularly, they're losing market share to these smaller brands that are kind of making this personal connection with their customers. So we have just leaned into that. And like you, I don't necessarily want to be the face of the brand, but because I'm the one with the foot condition, that credibility is there. They're the ones, I'm the one that they trust. And even if the shoes don't fit them, because they're not for everybody, our customers kind of apologise for themselves because it's their fault. They feel like it's their fault that the shoes don't fit because we've created this personal connection with them. So I do think putting yourself out your comfort zone, a bit like I'm doing now, and talking to people. Actually, doing lives is loads easier than this because you're all looking at me. But when you're on an Instagram thing, you're just talking to the screen. So it doesn't matter. You can't feel people watching you. People will comment, but you don't have to. You can just engage them that way, but a comment's okay. So I would definitely, if you're thinking about it, I would definitely just have a go. And Instagram Live or TikTok Shop or whatever, it's just a really easy way of just having a go and seeing how you feel and practicing talking to the world about what you do and your story and why you do what you do. And I literally will do lives about anything. Sometimes I just whinge about stuff, on a live, and then we put it on the feed and people engage. People just like that behind the scenes type of content. So I would also, like I say, we've got like followers on these other platforms, but we have chosen to go big on Instagram. The reason that we had 52.5 million views is because we went viral at the beginning of April on one of my videos, and then it was April the 1st, so it's the end of March. So April the 1st, the day before April the 1st, I'd said to my marketing manager, should we do something for April Fool's Day? And she was like, what? We have never done anything before. And I was like, I know, but let's just put something out there. Let's pretend we're putting a random pair of shoes out that we'd never put out, like something like a granny shoe. And then the next day she messaged me and said, this is what ChatGPT came up with. If you go onto our Instagram, you'll see it in the feed. And it's basically a pair of shoes that look like feet. Hey? Yeah, you can see it. You can see it. I'll show you in a minute. So yeah, and it was, and my marketing manager's like, so should I put that it's an April Fool's joke? I went, no, just put it out there and just say this is our new collection. Feet in every skin tone, feet shoes. And I like the idea of it because if you're into your barefoot shoes, like you're like part of like a weird cult, I think, because they give me so much shit on social media because they love barefoot shoes and they like keep telling me I need to wear them, but I'm like, no, I don't want to because I think they look really ugly. So this was like ChatGPT in 20 seconds. Make me a pair of shoes that looks like feet with a bit of a bunion there. Yeah, so this went wild. Like, it went out in the UK because we put it out in the morning and people were going, ha ha, it's really funny. But then when like the rest of the world woke up, it just went bonkers. I mean, it's been shared in so many languages. I don't even know what half of them are. It's had 37 million views. 279,000 likes. We've had 15,000 new followers off the back of it. I mean, it was mental.
Can you develop it?
Well, I know I should have made them. People keep asking me, can I buy them? It's a bit odd. No. I was thinking I should have done key rings if I'd known. But this type of content wouldn't have worked for us if we were just one of those aesthetic type of brands, where you just put up pretty pictures. Because we were more like founder brand led, because we put up real content all the time and people felt like they were part of the brand, then it really resonated and people got the joke. If we were too serious about ourselves, this wouldn't have worked. If we didn't have that kind of following where people were used to getting bits of random content from us anyway, it wouldn't have worked. So we just hit at the right time and got some shareable content. So there's two lessons here. AI, you don't have to have loads of time to put random stuff out, but I wouldn't recommend doing it all the time. I'm not a big fan of like AI generated stuff in general because, again, this world of fakeness and that kind of stuff. I never use filters on my face or anything like that. I don't like it. People may as well just see the real me. So that's a bit mad, really. There's no way we're going to be able to beat that next year, is there? Like, we just can't. It's just going to be a one-off. But we do regularly go viral, like with 1 million views. That's fairly regular. And for us, that works really well because we get a load of new followers. So it is a bit of a vanity metric. But actually, when you're... If you came across Cala on an advert and you were like, I've never heard of these guys, who are they? And then you go on our Instagram profile, well, actually, you're like, oh, they're quite popular. There's lots of women who love them. There's loads of engagement. So then it kind of helps with your credibility and it just helps with like pushing people over the line of, should I buy them? Should I not buy them? We're not some random brand from wherever in the world that has just set up and trying to sell you cheap shoes. Our shoes are not cheap. These are like 190 quid. So trying to, that credibility and pushing people over the line, that metric is really important. And then also if I'm wanting conversations with big retailers in the USA, they are also going to, that popularity is really important. And we've definitely seen a 20% uplift in revenue from the USA because of our Instagram growth. So what I was saying about you've got to mix up your media. You can't just do posts. You've got to leverage everything that Instagram has to offer, and you've got to do it regularly. Instagram want to reward engaging content, because of course they do. So you've got to make your posts as engaging as possible and put as much content out as you can to get that engagement. Reels tend to work best for us, so we do loads of reels. And our marketing manager is shit hot on CapCut, and we make loads and loads of content, video content, and then she knits it all together. And we generally put out quite a lot of the same content over and over again, because we know that it works. And we kind of follow 3 pillars, I guess, of content. One of them is aesthetic. So we still need to look like a pretty brand. We still, we use some beautiful photography of our shoes and of the models. That stuff still has its place. We also put stuff that is more educational, so more, talking about the backstory or behind the scenes and that kind of stuff, how the shoes are made, and then the stuff that we kind of know will probably go viral as well. You don't want to just do all viral, because that's not building your brand. I wouldn't recommend it. And if you've not used these tools, you must have heard of them. CapCut for video, Canva for this whole presentation was made on Canva, and then there's loads of AI tools out there at the moment that can make your life a lot easier in creating content. You just got to kind of find the one that you want to use. And I've said that there's storytelling, this kind of like 3 pillars: aesthetics, educational, viral, and you can do that in any sector that you're in. I mean, I wouldn't say that who would have thought that bunions could be a thing, but bunion shoes, and I know we're in a niche, but that niche is significant. It's like 1/3 of women in the Western world who suffer from bunions in various sizes, wide feet, flat feet, and especially the older you get, the more likely you're going to have problems with your feet. This is a significant niche. I think that's it. Yeah, and that's it. Any questions?